Wait, are all our judges here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're in the judges' tables.
All right, we have Mr. Alston, Vincent, Ramos. You all ready to begin?
Before we start, does anybody want to be on the email chain?
Yes.
Yes.
I will be,
Everybody. Jonas not.
I will be back.
Your stand is about to fall off the table. All right.
You all know how to get hold of me. Done earlier.
It's okay.
Thank you. Good luck, everybody.
You can come over here.
Thank you, Mike. I love you, Connor. Rafi, do you mind putting Jonas on the email chain? Sure. Thank you. I love it.
What a strange request.
Okay. I'm holding live stream.
Okay. Wait, did you put me on there?
No, not yet.
All right.
You want to be on there?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to be on the email chain?
Yeah, the North Science Debate.
Sure. Sorry. Newark.
Science.
Science. Debate.
CJVince08@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Can I get that again?
Oh no.
Can you repeat for him? He wasn't listening. CJ Vince VINC. Because he didn't know he had to get his name. 08@gmail.com. If you're lucky, I'm too tired to throw this shoe all the way over there because that's requiring me. You got at least one yellow I have to see
Please. Everyone wants to be on the email chain.
It's just a joke. He doesn't have to know.
Yeah.
He's adding Jonas.
All right, I sent it out to you.
Okay. He's so awesome.
Well, let me know when you get it.
I didn't
I got it. Slavin, can you see where Rohit and Abby are?
I'm not copying.
Did you forget to put Rafi on the email chain? My God.
Me on the email chain? Different or one?
Yeah, I was trying to explain.
Wait, did you really?
I think I might have. I'll forward it to you.
Yeah, you forgot. Yeah, he was gonna start.
Is your email still at AOL?
Oh no.
You didn't have to mention that. That was not the whole group.
No, I just forwarded it.
He's going to take the email chain.
Jonas.
What are you on the email chain? Oh, I got it.
Okay, cool.
This time I actually got it.
Yeah, okay.
It's a blank doc.
It's totally, I'm messing with you, I feel like.
Yes, he actually didn't have to do it.
Are everybody good?
Yep.
Silence. Proposed framework evaluation management policy requires a social context requires situating nuclear energy in the broad context of society and economy to understand the traditional cost benefit assessment required less than plot technology cooperations and delivered at 06. Our environmental problems can be traced to an energy system that like remains a privilege only for the socially privileged energy. Organization exacerbated social inequalities that comparative sources of social analysis can to be captive at best, represented by the modern energy regime versus structure of climate, and produces promise for that sustainable public examination, political, social, economic, and ecological record of the regime's operations, authoritarian energy constructs, democracy will facilitate the abstraction of product and consumption. And standpoint epistemology is the best starting point for both decisions. The other methods include viewpoints which makes true analysis of reality impossible as 5. The rest of the intellectual realm dominated by frame perceptions that relate the experience of privilege, good and sounds that spontaneously occur arises as a result of hegemonic ideological patterns, dominant concepts, secure crucial realities, while concepts necessary for accurately mapping these realities will be absent. Realizations require validation of distinctive experiences as a result of our perceptions no longer iterate realities and ideals which we have to see them, yet they do not. Thus, the standard is minimizing the material conditions of social inequality. Part 2 is nuclear renaissance. We are in the midst of a global nuclear renaissance. Corporate propaganda markets nuclear power is the only solution to climate change in order to shut down democratic deliberation of alternative energy futures. 2016. The nuclear power management climate change is hype. Ratings are dirty and dangerous. The entire centralized nuclear system is undermined by drops of price for renewable energy. The critical missing link is battery technology, completing the nuclear simplifying base of low power might be shorted by fossil burners, but all environmentalists understand the choice by reactors. Billions in such good with accelerating battery production and distribution of well-organized shift to wind and solar was derailed by the co-run legislation. Renewable decentralized energy system is very much in sight and very hard to face response to direct colonize the country to sustain nuclear addiction moving 11. The nuclear industry and the party allies have been in a tight marriage after currently in economy with the nuclear power plants least present nuclear cars are preparing for bombs of supply when export lines and nuclear materials to add after French, Canadian, British, Japan, Japanese, Chinese, Australia, Romania, uranium with African countries, and nuclear power source by the emergency framing. This creates a nuclear state of exception. Nuclear dangers are deprioritized in favor of remote capitalism, which systematically warms cost benefit assessment and recreates warming and destruction of animal life. For 11. Kiss states are promoting nuclear so large-scale solution, increasing demand for consumer level lifestyle. The nuclear lobby benefits from global warming. Nuclear industry is able to promote themselves as environmentally beneficial so users are to monopolize the environmental terrain relationship with uranium mining, the ecological costs to make decommissioning of waste or health subsidiary or creating a truth machine who wants more energy without changing consumption lifestyle. The energy climate change exports empowers the nuclear state of exception. The nuclear state of exception leads into aspects of society and provides a model for authoritarian distributing privileges, the technocratic experts, and exclusive plans of everyday citizens legitimating oppression. Core 11. The authoritarian nuclear state encapsulates subjects into technological civilizations, science is centralized, and the bureaucracy surrounding it play a critical part of normalization of the state of exception, the exercise of power over citizens, the utilization of nuclear state power justified by the necessity of providing permanent protection from potentially endangered sources of energy. This applies restrictions to citizens' freedom, these regulations of critics, the mobilization of police to deal with demonstrators that hedge money on truth claims, power structures, and lifestyles need not be altered when nuclear power becomes a mascot of clean and green energy, and nuclear power is centralized and is arming the state sector casts the profit off of taking away local community control over energy. Martin 84. These social structures favored by nuclear power include capitalism, patriarchy, nuclear power by virtue of its large centralized production of electricity and dependence on X, which is not suitable for control by state bureaucracy, so it did not allow such control when that distribution is at stake. The consequence for communities is the reduction of local control over energy planning. U.S. companies were only joined by nuclear power plants after many subsidies and incentives were offered to the U.S. state, and it reinforces all levels of social division and perpetuates inequality. Martin 84. Technologies are often chosen to design often hierarchical control the workplace. Nuclear power fits in this pattern while the isolation of social control in the hands of the lead super system, which scientists lock into socially destructive research colleagues will determine goals. Patriarchy is another major social structure that state and capitalists mutually reinforce one another. The state bureaucracies want to discriminate against strong career structures, and the state corporations with less patriarchal relations to serve their own domination and split the workforce. And the view of nuclear power is a quick fix, equalizes the global economy and energy system, perpetuating massive inequality. Macy Tuska and Marcelic 11. The production of nuclear power energy is planned under a free market condition, being split into competitiveness and profitability, resulting in the growth of existing inequalities. The invisible hand of the free market economy legitimizes those subjects already in power. The welfare of poor and agri society does not fit into that picture. The nuclear establishment did not take that into account. The overall reduction of energy consumption, therefore, the energy productive increase in power reduction, the power use is one of the core concepts of pro-atomic source. The concept of energy use is seen as financial and material, but not as sufficient to reorganize. Part 3 is the advocacy, plan tax, all countries that prohibit the production of nuclear power. Countries that are currently producing power from nuclear reactors will begin phasing out all nuclear power. Lucas 12. The only certain way to eliminate this is to phase out nuclear power altogether. Some countries will this lesson in Germany. The production decided to go with a phase out of nuclear power. Many foresee Germany sourcing 100% of its power from renewables by 2030. And voting affirmative endorses a social critique of nuclear power. Only instrumental reform to the energy system can effectively spill over to broader systematic problems without being co-opted by Article 4. Objects related to nuclear programs include massive participation, decision-making, decentralization, distribution of political power, and bringing itself around some base environmentally sound technologies, in fact, stopping nuclear power and challenging system structures and how to constitute viable alternatives in its topics of the government outside already opposing nuclear fuels like a local only when there's a community press. And the problem with many press to these by anti-uranium movement that not been systematically organized and focused as part of a long-term strategy. While this approach does have some merit, is inadequate to approach to do stopping mining or transforming structures underlying nuclear power. What needs to be done is to focus on vulnerable points within these structures, promoting nuclear power and to devote efforts in those areas. Nuclear power is a large-scale vulnerable point. The structure of the state, a suitable combination of interventions and forms of basis strategy, grassroots mobilization design by itself stop uranium. The mobilization must come with major forces in society. Strategy against nuclear power can be seen as a non-reformist reform. Put the card there. Undertaking nuclear power opens up this potential for more decentralized, but it also makes renewables more effective because they no longer get blacked out by nuclear industry. Letters and 15. Why is nuclear industry trying to curb the influences of gas? Exxon can't do anything about the market price of natural gas, so trying to stop wind and solar development. The companies that own nuclear power are also heavily invested in natural gas. Renewables represent a shift to decentralized energy, less reliant on base load. It goes back to the maintaining the old model as long as possible, opposed to the other controlling like solar panels on rooftops, improvements to the grid, poses a challenge to centralized power, which makes it easier to move electricity around or store energy generated by the sun and wind can be better used and where it is needed. And nuclear renewables directly trade off. Nuclear caps progression of renewables. Main 15. Nuclear is a barrier to the clean future. The standard nuclear reactors and flexible and its output nuclear can be used to supply more than the minimum demand level in the base load. Other fuel can be ramped up or down. If you build enough solar, you will eventually have to cut back your base load sources. Without a lot of storage, it's much harder to keep wind and solar from competing with nuclear. You can curtail production, but since there's no fuel cost, you be throwing away fuel energy. If nuclear hogs base load by definition, there'd be times when there's no load left for other sources to be met. And after RBS, when I flex things with the collapse on nuclear, so feasibility, the same ability for the 2AR. This waste because A, 200 collapse times within 6 months, second for multiple layers makes it impossible to win. B, 1 hour short free theory compared to the next of the athletes each layer to be more reciprocal rather than adding more reciprocal avenues. And 2, only neck and T because only the athletes keep burdens, so the active reciprocal response. We need the RBI to compensate for the next, you have to do the ballot.
What was the one card before crossing? What was the card that you marked?
Yeah, so the card that I marked was the the last Martin et al. 84 card.
Oh, sure, that was at.
And I marked that at non-reformist reform.
Okay, got it. Ready for cross X?
Yeah.
Let's discuss the advocacy. So it's whole resolution, all countries ban it.
Yes.
So does each country pass it individually, or is it like passed by some overarching structure, like who passes the act?
I mean, what do you want me to do?
I want you to defend that it's passed like by something like the UN, not passed to like each country.
Okay, we can defend it's passed by the UN.
Great. Let's discuss the solvency. Countries like Germany and Japan have banned nuclear power before. Where do you show that it's been effective, these bans?
So there are a few responses to that. I think that initially the Martin et al. 84 card is pretty good here, saying that it's not a question just of banning nuclear energy, but of creating a larger substantial shift away from the social structure of
Where do you show that these countries did ban nuclear power? Where do you show these countries actually had that shift?
No, well, the AF doesn't include like empirical evidence about banning shifts.
So the AF doesn't have solvency.
No, okay, there's
Point to me a line that's empirical.
right, there is solvent. It's not a question of empirics. It's a question of the methodology.
Yes, but you make an empirical.
Additionally,
wait,
like
hold on,
there are a few reasons for why this is like.
Wait, I want to ask you a question. You make an empirical claim that there's an overall social shift. Where do you show this shift has ever occurred? In like
no, we are saying that this is the best possible method for the affirmative. There is no empirical claim made because the social shift hasn't happened in the real world.
But if they banned it in many countries,
additionally,
the
previous bans, Robbie, the previous bans in other countries did not take into account our current evidence, ergo the development.
Wait,
of
Martin's from
renewable
1984. How is this current evidence?
No, I'm talking about the development of renewable energy.
Sure.
That's a Wasserman 16 card.
Sure, that's fine. You say rejecting nuclear power opens the potential for more decentralized grid. How much renewables would take over? Like, do you quantify this anywhere?
What do you mean?
Like, where do you show that renewables would completely take over the grid? Like, where does this
No, the grid argument is that the grid of nuclear power centralizes power in one large nuclear plant, or rather a few large nuclear plants around a bunch of regions.
Wait, this is about the
argument for
this is about
decentralization.
the U.S. How could poorer countries even afford these renewables?
I'm confused about how you expect poor countries to afford nuclear plants.
If they currently have nuclear plants, how do you show they can afford renewables?
No, renewables, the Wasserman 16 evidence is good on saying renewables are faster to build and cheaper than nuclear plants. Additionally, nuclear plants constantly shut down years on end for maintenance.
Your Martin evidence,
renewables don't have to do that.
Your Martin evidence in the part you didn't highlight says that nuclear movements are based upon grassroots strategies.
Yeah, you are. So that was the trick you used against Evan last round. You were just wrong about that. Like, no, the card just says that grassroots movements. No, Rocky, read the article. The card says that grassroots movements have to be combined with larger structural movements against systems. Right? It says yes. I literally highlighted this because I knew you were going to say this in the card. It is bolded. Many grassroots movements methods used by the anti-uranium movement is they have not been systematically organized.
Yes, it says they failed. Why does that mean that a state-based approach is effective? Because the article
just say a grassroots movement combined with a state-based approach.
I think you're misreading this. Okay, that's fine.
We can have that debate, Rob.
Okay, we're going to have that debate. You say applicants RBIs, just a neg get RBIs. I'm not reading theory or T. Just a neg also get RBIs.
Wait, RBIs on what?
If you read one of your theory.
You would have to make arguments for why the neg gets RBIs. I'm not going to read one here.
Oh, it's good. Happy to hear. Okay, we're doing 5 minutes wrap.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. I respect you more than that, Rob.
I appreciate that, Connor. You're a good guy. Okay, 317. The order will be 3 off in the case. I'll send you the doc.
Remember to reply all.
Yeah, of course. I'm not going to exclude you from the email.
That hurts.
Well, so does reply all work in the
No,
instance
does
of a
reply all
forwarded
No,
email?
it doesn't.
So you're gonna have to.
Type
Oh,
all these
here,
again.
No. You can copy and paste it.
Reply all to the user.
Here, can I just send it to you and then send it to the judges after the round if they need it? Is that fine? Or do you all want it now? Okay.
Connor's original email should have something where it says like forwarded.
Oh, you're right.
It should have the original list of everything. So
We can also just like reply it.
yeah, and Connor could send it. There's a lot of.
I'm not gonna act like I'm new technology.
You can send it to me and I can send it out. Like, so it's like your fault.
Cause like
It's just my grand strategy.
Stealing trap. Okay, sent it. I password protected, but I can check the password. Yeah. Are any of the judges like opening? What? Oh, are any of the judges opening it now? Okay. Yeah, I got it. I can type the I password protected, so I can type the password in under your screen. Can we do it?
yeah. He said I like saying
Rocky.
Oh.
Thank you, Rocky.
Let's do it.
Oh, do you want the password as well?
There was 3 options.
Yes. And then on case, it's like, I'll give the room back.
Technology.
There you go. So 3 in the case. On case, it'll be an overview, then solving section. Yeah. Oh.
So 3 off.
Yes.
And then.
Yes. And does everyone have the document open? Okay. You have it? Yeah. So is anyone not good? Oh, Ruby, you good? Okay, cool. First law of the sovereignty critique the Affirmative imperialism, first global regulations, covering states that wield political power, the notion for developing states is comparatively worse to yes rights. All small theater politicians, African countries impose the worldviews, doctrine needs, not life that needs of developing countries, radical activists, impose standards upon those nations while ignoring those who struggle just to survive. Second, the acts of hypocrisy which states often get built out these nuclear power when they made wealthy in the first place through the nuclear agenda. The Affirmative allows people to continue having nuclear power for honor rights. Nuclear armed states the best dominant and hold nuclear status quo that enables them to modernize nuclear sovereign and suffer nuclear platformism in the self-important interests of the United States and imposed upon the rest of the world. Thus, the alternative country should have the freedom to have nuclear victories to which be a nuclear fuel bank that allows countries who wish to have nuclear to help each other pawn some rights. The countries that are mostly nuclear power are developing countries because of the stranglehold developed nations have on it with sanctions. The new conduct's far cheaper, the financial validates of long-term term assumptions. Those the anti-nuclear Western environmentalists, the IPROs about the nuclear fuel bank, whereby the agency itself holds 5 nuclear reactors. The K turns the case that weighs uncyclical harms, make the root cause much worse. The reason my colonization occurs in the first place is because the rich subjugate the global south, and they make the minds comparatively worse. Second off is the coldest act. Bans on nuclear power posts shift to coal renewables can't keep up. It's empirically verified which outweighs their speculation coming out of the 1AC Abernathy 15. The IA forecast increased energy demands of 37 2040s, that's for renewable energies. 7 rounds still found in oil, gas, and coals. Renewables not take over the generation coal share will remain stable. And studies show coal kills 4,000 times more than renewable than the nuclear does, which is a massive death impact in terms of structural violence. Johnson 11. For each person killed by nuclear power, 4,000 died from coal. If we were to include death and environmental impacts to fossil emissions, the chart would skew even further. Most people don't realize that coal is the much killer, and the coal industry calls exploitation is unsafe. It's probably terrible conditions, which shows they worsen capital domination. Clark 14. Coal miners across the globe are facing pressure to feed the energy demands with disasters take place like Fergus mine accidents. They killed more than 200 miners. The local governments are taking kind of these corruption is so rampant, and coal mining causes colonialization and exploitation across 4 African countries and harms black and brown bodies across the entire globe. Okiwo 13. In Zambia, elsewhere in Africa, investors made the deal with governments to mine natural resources, filling coffers billions of dollars. They open up loans and corruption labor statuses, and criminal corruption began. Africans become unhappy about unbalanced relationships in which China has taken proprietorship of African natural resources, the essence colonialization, the disaster is the case in that ways their offense versus that ways in magnitude. It's comparatively shown that they cause more harm. The initial nucleus pattern vacuum was actually comparatively cold, kills more people, and problems of capital industries that are root cause the impacts. Second, that ways in probability, it's empirically shown that nuclear power would cause a shift to cold wars there as solvency speculative. They couldn't give a single country out of 5 that banned it, which means they don't actually solve. Third off is the desal dissat. Nuclear desalination is on the rise in the status quo. It's important to solve for water shortages. The WNA16. Nuclear energy desalination tends to much greater usage. One of the world's population that has access to safe drinking waters, and the push increase in population growth. Invest in desalination plants double by 2020, and water prices are coming to the status quo, and they'll kill tons of people. Nuclear desalination is key to solve white rights. Demand for water increases dramatically, but there'd be a solution. Nuclear desalination. Many areas of the world suffer water crisis. Civil unrest already started. A single nuclear reactor has produced 80,000 meters of water a day since 1999. It can be a lifesaver. And desalination can solve water crisis, kill millions, and especially targets poor black and brown people across the Middle East. Come Lilo 13. Middle East losing fresh water reserves. Carter got no water check is water of the highest degree. The answer is desalination. Carter's there consumed 5 million cubic tons of water. More than 7 people clean waters. We're losing die every single day. The dissat turns the case in that ways on scope. They only discuss one country, pretty much that's the US and developed countries, but the poor countries are often subjugated by this, and there are hidden unforeseen costs of nuclear power. Bans will show that they worsen depression across the entire globe. The case. Place in order to the F proper. First, the solves all the benefits, all the harms they discuss. People should have sovereignty, and the colonialization impacts are resolved by having people have a say in their own life conditions to allow people to have sovereignty, like the Alpha Laws precondition resolving the harms out of the F in the first place. Second, they have no solvency. Cross-sex was devastating. They literally didn't read any of the AC, only the nuclear power was bad in a vacuum. The countries banned nuclear power before, for example, Japan, Germany, etc. They have no reason why it's actually affected. Martin Luther 20 years ago, nothing has changed, which shows they can't actually solve. Third, reliance on governmental action and increase the problems of nuclear power. Martin, their own author, would enact to the government bureaucracies if these officials use the monopoly on information, patriarchal structures reinforce selection of divisional labor, bureaucrats may exist in higher offices, or administrative efficiency, furthermore, cultural shift calling from the bottom of strategies. Their state-based approach fails. Martin 2. Corruption, mobilization, all fraud challenges to NP power, all about successful abstract and integrated campaigns dependent on grassroots mobilization, which provides a commitment to or activities not to change and opinion happen through organizational groups, and the article goes that the last paragraph of the article literally says we should introduce participation, non-hierarchical methods. If that's not a link, I don't know what it is, shows that it's based on objective state-based approach. Fourth, circumvention countries need nuclear power secretly. India shows the plan solves nothing. They would hide nuclear power leading 15. Only after production begins to become clear, the secret agency behind constant centrifuges to expand the government's nuclear research programs. The secret city emerges. The finding information on East Eco's all been sketchy. 5, Germany shows that it phase out harms the poor, which works in structural balance their own framework. They can't resolve the harms that occur with Kathy 15. Berlin's power operators, the surcharge fees for renewable energy construction will rise 3% increase will translate into higher power bills at a total 2.2 billion euros per year. The surges so far reference lines for the cost of Germany's energy revamp. Now the solvency. Right. First, Germany was doing to hide the fundamental reliance early over have. They save up a fundamental critique of the entire system. So renewable energy is currently worse. Bellamy and Thomas 15. Energy does not place capital system, but save all encroaching crises. Energy can stop cap facilitates worker exploitation. Destroys technologies being a renewable front. Obscurity impersonate from the working class. The apparatus of industrial structured life at every level that gets come. Skip the next card. Second, most countries stand for renewable energies, and they fail when they're needed. They rely upon coal. The Economist. Countries of renewable generation face the highest energy price in the entire world. Renewable generations are costly to build. Wind turbines will spend about a third of the time. Governments will annex some life-dirty plants to serve as a backup when renewable generation is low. Third, they have no solves. They have no internal renewables are not the renewables actually been shifted to. Even if nuclear power is bad, they don't show they actually shifted to renewables anyway. They don't have any internal renewable arguments, so they don't ensure they actually get the shift they discussed in the first place. Fourth, they harm poor countries who can't afford renewable energy left behind because they can't afford the type of technology. Only the rich can afford renewable energies. Empirically shown by US and European countries who often have the technology. Would poor countries have no energy, then know nothing, which means they can't resolve the underlying harms. Their solution is just for the West, which harms the rest of the world.
Can you delete anything you didn't read? I didn't read anything in blue, and I skipped just the Bellamy and Thomas card, the second one, that one right there, and I read everything else in this one. Yes. All right. Good. Yeah. Why do our environmental regulations originate from the West? We banned them for everybody.
Sure, the argument here is that even if it's banned from everybody, these countries like, for example, Africa, China, etc., aren't the ones who come up with it. The motivation is from the West.
Where in the plan does it say that like Western countries come up with it?
Well, you said in crossing to defend a global ban.
Yeah,
which
so
obviously
I defend
the
a global
UN.
ban.
Wait,
Everyone
explain.
bans.
I can answer your question. Let me finish. Okay. It originates, like for example, the UN, other global organizations,
Wait,
the Kyoto Protocol, for
Are
example,
other countries
are run
not
by
part
rich
of the
countries.
UN? Are other countries not part of the UN?
Yes, they are, but the Kyoto Protocol. for
Wait, so if
example,
this isn't about
I'm
the Kyoto
answering your
Protocol.
question.
No, you're not, Rob.
No, you don't-
The
you
point
don't
is,
answer.
the point is,
Protocol.
if the decision is made collectively by the UN, why does that not mean other countries don't get a say?
It's obviously naive to assume that every country is equal. Think like the Kyoto Protocol, for example, which is very similar to this type of app. We're dominated by the rich countries who can subjugate the
Where
global
in this
south.
evidence does it say that the decision made by the UN
Sure,
is
I'll quote the
dominated by rich
card.
countries?
The small catered politicians in affluent developed countries impose their worldviews, doctrine, freedom, needs, and life
Wait,
needs
so
of
you're in,
developing
so this
countries.
link is just that you defend the UN and everybody
No,
in the
the
UN
link,
will
that's not the
impose
link
their
at all. Connor, I
worldviews
think you're
on
fundamentally
smaller
misunderstanding the
countries.
critique. You're
Okay, let's
fundamentally
just move on. So if you say the app is a form of hypocrisy, why, like, so where is the warrant in this card that there's some sort of nuclear domination?
Sure, the argument is that earlier Western countries were able to use nuclear power to make themselves wealthy, and then later on.
Wait, can you read that from the card? The card is like 4 sentences long.
Yes, four sentences long is a pretty long card.
Okay, we'll read that part.
Nuclear
of the
armed
card.
states are doing their best to dominate and uphold the nuclear status quo that enables them to modernize.
Okay, but they're not modernizing if we ban.
They were
nuclear
able to
energy.
before. The first 50 years where nuclear power existed, it was only the rich can get it. As soon as the poor are able to get it, they ban it for everyone. It's not a coincidence. They want
Okay,
to,
if I win that
the status
poor
quo.
countries are able to get renewable energy, is that a reason why like you vote AF against
No.
this? Why? Because they're able to
A,
modernize
renewables
energy.
aren't as good as all the case terms answered.
Wait,
And B,
renewables? Where's the argument that renewables aren't good? Why are renewables
that was like the last
bad?
5 answers I made in the case page.
You just say that people can't afford renewables. Where do you make the argument that renewables are bad?
The Bellamy and Thomas evidence is that renewables stave off a critique of the system and are a stopgap solution that vitiates
Okay.
any critique of the
Let's
system.
so let's talk about the Ponton evidence.
Sure.
What exactly is the alternative?
Sure. Countries should have the freedom to choose if they want nuclear or not. We shouldn't have a sweeping global ban.
And
we
this
should
talks
also
about making.
establish-
What is a nuclear bank?
Sure. This is something that the IAEA suggested, where countries can lend each other nuclear power to ensure to.
Wait, so if modern westernized countries can like lend nuclear power to more developing countries, why does this not just replicate the harms of?
Well, this part discusses poorer countries having a nuclear bank. The U.S. wouldn't be.
Wait, poor countries have the nuclear
No,
bank?
they should establish it.
They
This
should
is
establish. Who establishes the nuclear bank?
like the IEA.
What's the IEA?
It's an organization of atomic energy that like
Governed by who?
governed by nobody at the moment. It's not like
Governed by nobody. Okay, it just seems like this is just another
I think you're really
organization.
misunderstanding.
This seems like another organization dominated by
No.
Western countries.
Also,
Is it run
like
by
I said,
developing
the Western
nations?
countries are not included in the fuel bank. It's only the poor countries involved in it.
Okay.
So they're not even involved.
142. If I reply all to this email you sent me, will you get rid of it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And this time, right?
I got it.
guarantee.
Y'all would never survive.
Sorry, that was shady. I'm sorry.
Basic E. I don't care. It's just basic E.
Oh, what's the order, by the way?
Oh, sorry, let me just.
Oh, sure.
It should be 1 yard versus rocket. So the order is going to be AF, the K, the shift disadd, then the desalinization disadd.
Say that one more time.
So it's going to be the AF starting on the Martin evidence, like the framing at the top, then top down. So solvency afterward. Then the K, then the shift disadvantage, then the desalinization disadvantage.
Case first.
Yes.
Oh, which Martin? These Martin evidence, by the way.
The first piece of Martin evidence and the second piece. It'll go down.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good when you are.
There's a lot of questioning on whether or not the affirmative is an effective social criticist. He makes a ton of arguments trying to miscut the Martin evidence. However, instead the first Martin evidence, he says that Martin is dependent on grass movements. However, this evidence is killer. We literally line this up and no, it is a question of grassroots movements working in cooperation with larger, more specific plan-focused movements. This is already lined up in the affirmative case. It's a question of rejecting the nuclear industry where it is most harmful. That what needs to be done is to focus on vulnerable points within the structure of the nuclear industry. While a grassroots approach has its merit on itself, it is inadequate as an approach to stop mining and transformation of the structures underlying nuclear power as a whole. It must be far more focused. And the second Martin card you say is it just that bureaucracy fights back against social critiques. No, you are once again misstating this card. The card says that bureaucracy is a way in which social movements are inhibited, not a reason why social movements don't work, where the affirmative doesn't work. Yes, we agree that fighting back against the bureaucracy is a necessary prerequisite to fighting the system, but we can overcome it. Next to read this levy evidence of the circumvention, but this doesn't talk about nuclear energy, just nuclear research. We don't care if India keeps having nuclear research in secret because it's not a building of a nuclear plant. Next to the McCarthy evidence, you say that Germany has empirically shifted to fossil fuels, but you're conceding the Wasserman 16 evidence postdates her evidence by 2 years, saying that the reason why there was a shift to renewables in Germany was because they were missing the battery technology that made storage for renewable energy far more efficient than nuclear energy. Additionally, the baseload power created by nuclear energy is super inefficient because it forces nuclear plants to be run at 100% capacity literally all the time when renewables can be spread out and decentralized. Now, the solvency is an argument you were losing. First on the Bellamy evidence, one turn, the solar power isn't as corporately exploitable as nuclear power is because it's decentralized and be individualized or by per person. Everyone can have a solar panel on their roof. That is explicit in the first Martin evidence. Two turn, nuclear power is far worse because it presents a security threat. This solar does not because the inherent risk of meltdowns and waste and as well as proliferation, which requires more dominant bureaucracy control. That's the first core 11 evidence you are conceding. So I'm definitely winning the shift as that as well. But I will get to that when I go there. Go to the K. The first is that the Drayson evidence is the link is super tenuous. It just says we have to challenge the system and assumes that the entire UN is going to be super imperialist, but your evidence doesn't specify that. Super short, no. The UN allows every country to collaborate on this. This is literally the way in which you can have the ban on nuclear energy that is the most possibly verifiable to help other countries because they all get input as they are part of the UN. The second, this just means if I win any reason why we shift to renewables, it is a reason why we are not forcing away modernization on other countries because they're able to shift to a more modern form of renewables. Next up, the Verano evidence. You say it is hypocrisy. Ace points the women love it evidence for conceding. Literally, you lose the K. Larger countries will always try and impose nuclear plants on smaller countries. They destroy their countries with uranium mining and by building tons of nuclear plants on them. This is literally the function of imperialism. Second, you're conceding the Lenderson 15 evidence, meaning there's a definite shift to renewables. The only reason why there is because a nuclear lobby was pressing against this. Your Germany evidence also doesn't take this into account that we weaken the nuclear lobby itself, meaning they can no longer suppress renewables. You are also supporting the state of exception. Nicely core 11 evidence. You say no. Don't shift away to renewables. It is far better for these countries because they aren't showing we've raised CO2 emissions and tons of radiation for the populace and tons of meltdowns. No, let's just stay in the state of nuclear exception where we just say nuclear energy is the only possible fix to help modernization. That is ridiculous. Also, your alternative is just non-unique because you can't even tell me who the IEA is or who what the governing body is that runs these fuel banks. Is probably just also controlled by Western corporations or Western countries. Go to the detail of this act.
The problem is you are getting slayed here because your evidence isn't very good. Your evidence is literally just a forecast that says that in the future, if we push for renewables, then renewable energy would fail. This discounts the battery evidence as well as literally all the other evidence is extending that defeating the nuclear lobby means the renewables will finally be able to flourish. Your evidence doesn't even take into account a ban on nuclear energy, just assumes the status quo. Next time we desal this ad, turn the desalinization this ad. Desalinization is too expensive, harms all the populace, destroys fishing, and is perfectly to be after industry lies and controls in pursuit of profit. 309. Companies are marketing desalinization turns to long-term solution to water shortages. In reality, they're taking advantage of communities who are impeding water crises or leading to water managers to believe they must adopt extreme measures. Desalinization creates more problems than it solves by perhaps desalinization include coagulants, bisulfates, and chlorines. Cause fishermen lose at least 165 million pounds of fish a year. That's right there.
Okay, so can you delete everything you didn't read?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you didn't read any, you read some A2 application in there, I assume you didn't. Yeah, I was really confused. I was like, I didn't read a application. That's all. The Wasserman 16 evidence was like things made in. Like there were extensions. Yeah, I got this. Okay, you're good. So I wrote this down somewhere. 317. I'll take that. Okay. I'm reading 2 new cards. Well, I sent it. The order is going to be quickly the critique, then both disads, like in order of cold and desal in the case. Okay.
So,
Oh. Sorry. Critique quickly then the coal desal the case. I sent it. Let me know when you get it. And it's in a pocket called NR at the very bottom.
Oh, I need a password.
Oh yeah.
Thanks. What's that password?
What?
I can't stop wondering what that password is.
Remember?
Is it Princeton English with a C? No, I assure you it's not. No.
Oh.
Oh my god.
No.
Oh, dude.
Sorry, so say again, quickly on the K, coal shift,
Yes.
desal, app.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. Ready? Oh yeah. Yeah. More recent. Yes. Current is very long, so. Okay. So is everyone good? Hunter, you good?
Yeah. Okay.
The critique was conditional. I'm not going for it. I don't know why they spent 2 minutes on it and dropped both disads. The disads both turned the case, and they unrecovered them in the 1AR. So it's game over. Go to the coal shift disad. The framing issues, they concede all the impact calc as to why coal is the worst impact in terms of the AC. They cause endless suffering and violence and profit colonialization, which harms black and brown people, which was all conceded impact calc coming out of the 1C. They only had one response, and it was terrible. They say battery evidence takes it out. One, there's no quantification of how much we take out. They only say battery occurs. They don't say how much internal the access to get to the impact in the first place. Second, doesn't show the actual bullshit even batteries are available. Countries might not shift anyway. They're missing internal link. They haven't established the shift that occurred in the first place. Only battery evidence can solve, which means they don't get solved to discuss. Third, Japan shows nuclear power plant calls shift to coal, which is empirically verified fall at 16. Coal being alerts from electricity in Japan and nuclear powers. Japan got 24% electricity from coal 2010, and more than a third by 2040. Japan transitioned away from nuclear power. Electricity is 4 times expensive. To refer this evidence, A point is empirically verified. The battery itself was all nebulous, like you might shift. This shows they actually do shift to coal, which means that they don't solve the impacts they discussed in the first place. B point is on recency. A post states there is it's from 2016, and from literally 2 months ago, which shows that the shift overall occurred. So I win the link on the disk that they shift to coal. One response is not going to cut it, Connor, especially when the impact calc was conceded now line by line. Exit Abernathy 15 to shift to coal is empirically verified. The IEA forecast across the entire world, which shows that shifts likely to occur. Prefer this evidence analyzed with global studies. They only consider one country, the U.S. How could a poor African nation use solar panels? How could China, for example, do this? Which means their approach is naive when ignoring these poor countries. The impacts that way, they conceded 3 impact parts to disad. Extend Johnson 11, they killed 4,000 people. Nuclear power at coal so much worse, 4,000 times more deaths. If that doesn't your case, I literally don't know it does. Then it's in part 14, the coal industry harms certain bodies and is unsafe and exploitative, which harm minorities especially. Finally, the most damning concession was the concession of the Oko-Wo evidence of coal mining curses colonialization across the entire globe. Poor African nations are exploited by China, US, etc. for coal resources, which is comparatively worse. They have dropped the reason why the dissent turns the case. Go there now. It's in the first way, part of that raised the alpha magnitude. It's the worst from exploitation, terminal impacts, imperialism, and the framework of structural violence. They've worsened hegemonic power structures by redefining the harms of certain countries. The coal dissad is game over. Since it turns the case, the 1AR did no weighing, which means they lose. Now desal. Here's another page you're losing on. Your response really missed the boat. The Fred evidence says that the desalination is too expensive. Well, one is part of that conventional desal, not nuclear power desal. It doesn't analyze the nuclear stuff, which is comparatively better to nuclear desalination. Is less costly, as link evidence indicates. Second, they concede the uniqueness argument, which controls the direction of the link. The fact that currently some desalination for nuclear desalination shows that it's obviously affordable and it's increasing the status quo, which disputes their impacts and shows that it's actually better. Third, desal doesn't have animals and is energy efficient. Conca 15. Upwards, these environmental impacts, it's no this problem, and it says the effects of these salty water dragging organisms probable to ensure that intake pipes are near the ocean floor, which resolve the arguments of desalination. Now, the line by line on the desad. The story that just said was not addressed. Countries have a right to live and a right to food, which the 1AC eliminates. Poor countries are often left out of the discussion of the 1AC. Extend the link to the very top with the WND nation increasing the status quo. Countries currently use a lot of power. That is in the link with White 09. Water crisis for energy nations to solve for the water harms that occur with water crises, which resolve civil unrest. The impact outweighs the conceded and structural violence impact of endless water crises. Their approach only discusses the Western nations. What about the poor people who don't have water to live on, or the ones that 1AC ignores? That was the Camille 13 evidence. They have dropped the distance that weighs the Afghan scope. They analyze what one country ignoring the other people who are currently subjugated. The story that is said is very clear. Water is important. Poor countries, you can't just expect a water bottle every day. Poor countries don't have water, which they ignore. Either way, they don't often take their diss out. So I go to case 3, still a bit negative. Go to the case. The case overview page. They are dropping terminal defense the applicants in the second review. They have literally no solvency. Cross-sex was devastating. They could identify any card in the app that shows the app's effective only in hypothetical situations. But Germany depends on all the nuclear power. You should go negative on presumption. The plan doesn't do anything, and they have an obligation to change the status quo. And they have a reason why the app is actually effective. Then it's the third term part into a cultural shift requires a bottom action, not a top 10 one. And engaging bureaucracy is fairly worse. You were just dead wrong in this question, Connor. You say bureaucracies are problematic, and we should fix the bureaucracies. You still pass a state-based action, which is a clear link using the state as bureaucracy. They have also conceded the conclusion of the article goes negative. It literally says, the conclusion, the last paragraph of the article, it says that introduce participative non-hierarchical methods. That's crystal clear. We shouldn't use the state, which takes it the only solvent to the one they are extended, which means they lose. But quickly, jump down to circumvention argument. Extend link 15, the applicant would be hidden by other countries. India shows radicals often hidden, and which a secrecy emerges. Their response made no sense. They say research is not the same thing. But the card, the line parts is reactors and also nuclear weapon centers, which shows the evidence do anything. Another reason to go negative on presumption. They would hide nuclear weapons, hide facilities, means they can't solve now. The solve is exception proper. There were 4 answers, and Connor dropped 3 of them, which means he has no shot of solving. It's the second response to the economist that renewables are able to provide a sufficient baseload and rely upon fossil fuels, which is terminal defense gap also means even the renewables, they still link to the shift dissad because they cause the same harms, which oftentimes wind turbines don't blow all the time, so they rely upon other shift loads. The final is often going for support response, which was also conceded they cause they harm sovereignty. The poor nations often can't afford renewable energies, means that only the rich can have power. The West is always subject to other countries, means they can't solve. The round's really clear. The one error just messed up and didn't have offense in any page. The cold is sad and the decel is sad, both independently turn the case. They ignore the poor countries who need nuclear, or you can go negative on presumption. The plan doesn't do anything.
Okay. 142. Order is going to be AF, decel, dissad, shift dissad. You have cards. What? AF, desalination dissad, shift dissad. There's not going to be any cards.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
So the same order, like the same card is extended to the top of one AR.
Yeah.
Right, is everybody ready?
App.
Yeah. Okay. So, half starting on the Martin framing, then going to the solvency question, then the desalinization disad,
Go
and
for
the
it.
cold shift disad.
The first question is whether or not the affirmative is an adequate social critique. Probably the problem, Rafi, is you are getting totally waxed on this. Extend the second Martin evidence. You should literally call for this card. It is so good. I quote, the problem for strategies by anti-uranium movement is they've not been systematically organized or focused. What needs to be done is they focus on vulnerable points within these structures. And this approach does have some merit, but is inadequate as an approach to stop mining or transforming these structures underlying nuclear power. You literally miscut this evidence. This is the reason why it is false. But no, our argument is literally that the Martin et al. Card says that grassroots have to be combined with a structural criticism of policy and a more lasting criticism of that only grass movements alone get co-opted. The only way to have a non-reformist reform is by examining the system as a whole. Your only extended evidence is that we have to fight state bureaucracy, and this destroys fascist movements. But no, we just think that we overcome state bureaucracies. That is part of the amendment. Now, go on to whether we do not vote negative presumption. We definitely solve the social critique. Next up, the economist evidence. You are extending the problems. You are extending the way. You are conceding the Washington 16 evidence indicates that yes, renewable energies definitely satisfy baseload power. The argument you are conceding is that nuclear plants have to be run at 100% efficiency to satisfy a minimum load of energy, while renewables can be run fluctuating depending on energy demand, meaning they are far more cost efficient and far more effective because the nature of because they are decentralized in nature, meaning you are not winning any reason why renewables are why nuclear is any better than renewables. So I'm winning any risk that renewables are better than nuclear, then you vote affirmative because there's no alternative in the world to be negative. Go to the desalinization disad. The problem is you play yourself here when you misread the Fred 09 evidence. It's not about the desalinization being too expensive, but desalinization killing off tons of fish and destroying people's source of food. This is an independent turn that you concede completely outweighs the status quo world of the negative because it means that people lose 165 million pounds of fish a year because desalinization plants create tons of negative bisulfates and chemicals when they are run. It's not a question of desalinization being too expensive. Rather, the desalinization itself is an excuse of the nuclear industry to try and form nuclear power. That means you, lady, the core 11 evidence I'm extending, but no, you were just trying to make excuses for why nuclear power is good when you were categorically incorrect. This is an instance of how you reify the state of exception in which you take something like desalinization, which is actually a horrible thing when implemented the way it is done in the status quo, and say that it's an excuse for why nuclear power is good, but you are losing this, meaning we should doubt all your evidence for why there'd be a shift away from nuclear powers. Your authors are obviously biased. Go to the desal list. Go to the bullshit disad. The problem is you are conceding way too many independent warrants. You say the only argument I make is the battery power response, but this was factually incorrect. First was the baseload power response already made on the affirmative. AC Washington 16 evidence said no, renewables to provide baseload power, making them far more efficient and cost-effective than nuclear plants, where they have to constantly have a maintenance run on them. Second, the Linderson 15 evidence is killer here. It says that the only reason why there isn't a shift to renewables is because the nuclear lobby is blocking it. Your Affirmative 15 evidence is super bad. It just says that without a ban on nuclear power, the forecast predicts that there would not be a shift to renewables. Your evidence literally doesn't take into account the entire affirmative case. You respond to this false 16 evidence that empirically didn't happen in Japan, but no, this is written before the battery evidence. It just dated.
Rafi, can you come password everything?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I haven't opened it, but I'll need you to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can just type it in now.
Well, my computer is not on yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry for that. Oh yeah, it's in the doc. Yeah, so we're gonna go down to.
All right, here we go.
Oh, okay.